See some caves down here. What you have to watch out for, though, are these exploding fish that protect it. Yeah. Looks like that one. Right. Hello, and welcome to Tutorials with Larry. I'm Larry King, and I hope to teach you something new today. I would like to welcome all of you to my very first video about the game Subnautica. If you're not familiar with it, Subnautica is an open world style game, and I really think it is one of the best games I've ever played in this genre. It is beautiful, and I think the developers did a brilliant job making this a very tense and very thrilling game. So there's actually a lot of playthrough videos about Subnautica, but what I wanted to do is create a set of short tutorials to help new players get through the early stages of the game. So once you've installed the game and launched it, go ahead and hit play, hit start a new game, and I highly recommend starting off in survival mode. Survival, I think, is probably the best balance for new players and probably the most fun, in my opinion. So once you click this button, it's actually going to go through the intro sequence of the game. I'm not going to walk you through that portion, so when you're all done with that, I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so after the ship crash, your screen probably looks kind of something like this. You're basically just holding a fire extinguisher, and everything in this pod is pretty broken. So a couple ways out of the pod. You can either go down below into the water or climb up the ladder here. So I recommend climbing up the ladder. Give you a chance to look around.
Orbital hull failure. Cause unknown. 0 human life signs detected.
So this will give you a chance to kind of see that basically everything's covered in water here. And there's the crash ship that you were coming in on. So just click here to go back into the escape pod. And a couple things to go over real quick. First one is if you hit the tab key, that'll bring up your personal computer, and tab key will hide it. But you'll be using this personal computer all the time. So for instance, right here, that's your inventory. It shows what you're currently holding and wearing. And then right here under blueprints, this shows all the blueprints that you know how to build already. Yeah, I'll talk about those a little bit more in a second. But it also shows ones that you do not know how to build yet. So for instance, if I mouse over filtered water, it says ingredients unknown. So I'll show you more how to figure that stuff out here in a little while. So also you'll notice under the voice log here, anytime you hear a computer message or a computer dialogue of some kind, it leaves a log of it here, so you can always go back and look it up later. And then to the right of that is the data bank. This is so when you start discovering things in the game or learning how to build things, it puts them all here in the data bank. And you'll reference it from time to time to learn some clues about the story and about how to build other items. So let's go ahead and hide this. Now if you walk up to the Fabricator and left click it, basically it's a tabbed system. So these are sort of the different categories of items that you can build. So if you were to say click on resources and then say basic materials, if you mouse over these, it shows you exactly the ingredients that you need to build them. So if you left click, it takes you out of the Fabricator. You can kind of see if you walk around here, you need to use some type of a repair tool to fix these systems. So if you walk up to the medical kit Fabricator, and open that, you can actually grab a first aid kit, and if you hit tab, you'll see it's right in your inventory waiting for you. And anytime there's a new item in your inventory, it puts a little exclamation mark next to it. Same with a new message over here in the voice log and so forth. Okay, so we should probably figure out how to create a repair tool. That's what I recommend is probably one of the first things you want to do. So let's go over to the Fabricator, and those are under Personal and Tools. And if you just mouse over all these, there's the repair tool right there. So we need silicone rubber, cave sulfur, and titanium. So just to give you another quick sort of shortcut here, if you go to resources, basic materials, silicone rubber is something you get from a raw resource. So you have to get the raw resource to make the silicone rubber. So you'll find this a lot with recipes. You have raw resources to make a basic resource, and then you can use it to combine it into a more complex sort of recipe. Okay, so let's go ahead and go swimming, and let's go find the materials we need for that repair toolkit. You'll be able to quickly see the absolute beauty of this game, and I just strongly recommend just explore and take your time. It's a very dangerous game. You're gonna end up dying, maybe a lot, but if you save your game regularly, it's not a big deal. So I'll go ahead and come up to the surface here. So notice the oxygen meter on the left. You do have to come up to the surface for air as soon as that thing runs out. So you want to kind of plan ahead, but because sometimes it takes several seconds to get to the surface. But one of the ingredients we needed was titanium. So what you'll see when you walk around or we swim around is you'll see this metal salvage everywhere. So let's go ahead and pick that up, and we'll hit tab to open our inventory. And there's a metal salvage there. That actually turns into a raw ingredient, so we'll go over that here in just a second. But if you look at my oxygen meter, it's getting pretty dangerously low, so let's go get some air.
Oxygen.
And it does give you kind of a nice warning, but usually it's too late. So the next thing we needed was some silicone rubber, and we get that from the creepvine seed clusters. So let's just swim around here, and you'll see some kind of vine type material that it kind of looks like seaweed. So that's where you find those seed clusters.
Calorie intake recommended.
Okay, so basically the computer just told me calorie intake was recommended. Basically means I'm getting hungry. If you see, my food levels are getting pretty low. So what I definitely recommend, one of the first things we're going to learn how to do is make food. Okay, it looks like there's some creep vines straight ahead. Now, just so you know, there's a lot of very dangerous creatures out here. And there's by these creep vines, there's a couple that can cause you some pain and suffering, so you can kind of see one in the distance there. Just got to keep your eyes open for those guys. And your ears, too. They tend to make a warning shout when they come and get you. So, we'll grab a couple of these seed clusters. Okay, we got to get to the surface.
Acquired. Oxygen.
Okay. So the cool thing is it shows us where our life pod is. You can actually have several things sort of on your HUD, and the life pod's on there by default. So
life on this planet grows in unusually distinct and diverse ecological biomes. Further study recommended.
Okay, so didn't want to interrupt that message there, but the point is you can see where your life pod is at any time and come back to it if you ever get lost. Okay, so the last thing we need for our repair tool is some cave sulfur, and believe it or not, you find that in a cave. So you see some caves down here. What you have to watch out for, though, are these exploding fish that detect it. Yep. Looks like that one. Okay, so let's go and gather that. Okay, now before we head back, let's get some air first, but let's also get some food. We're about to starve to death. Basically, what you could do for food, you can swim up to any of these small fish.
Seek calorie intake immediately.
And if you can catch them. Yeah, those guys are a little harder to catch, the ones with the big eyeballs, but they actually have the highest food content of all the fish around this area, so they're worth catching.
New creature discovered.
So you just swim up to it and click on it. Okay, those two will tie us over for a little while. Before we go back, though, I want to get a couple of what are called bladderfish. Bladderfish actually will give you water. So, let's see if we can find some here. Kind of this lavender color. Totally missed that.
New creature discovered. Alien life forms may have unexpected applications. Utilizing alien resources is a proven survival strategy.
Okay. So let's head back to our little life pod and make us some food and a repair tool. Okay, so we're going to use our fabricator, and what you'll notice here is there's actually some new recipes for us. So I'm going to go on sustenance, cooked food, and I don't recommend cooking the bladderfish. We want to use that for water. So go ahead and cook the peepers.
The fabricator cooks small organisms while disposing of the skeletal structure, bodily fluids, and internal organs, thus rendering them safe for human consumption.
So you see, you just click on water and then filtered water to turn your bladderfish into these beautiful water bottles with the magic of science. So we'll click to get out of here. I also recommend every time you come in here, just open up your medical kit fabricator and grab another first aid kit. Oh, also, another thing, the storage container here has some nice goodies for you for free. Has these nutrient blocks, some more water, and a couple of flares. I usually save my nutrient blocks till later because they have so much food value, and it's easy to catch fish. So, okay, we'll open tab again, and then click on your peepers to eat them.
Stabilizing.
Click on your water to drink it. And our health is not maxed out, so we'll go ahead and take a first aid kit as well. You'll also notice the food and water, they don't go up too much, so basically it means you just have to stockpile a lot of fish to keep those going. So let's go back to our fabricator and let's make our repair tool. So first thing we do is make some titanium out of that metal salvage we found. Let's do that. And we also need to make some silicone rubber. Okay. So we'll go back to tools, and we can make our repair tool. Okay, so we'll click to get out of here. And you can see on the bottom of the screen to put the repair tool on our hotbar. So we'll just hit the number 2 key to select it. And now we can go ahead and repair our broken stuff. Just right click. Alright. And let's repair the radio. Okay, so what I recommend doing is anytime you have a message on the radio, it's worth checking. Usually it's a clue to go check out some wreckage or something like that, and it'll mark a location on your HUD, and if you swim to that area, usually you could find more blueprints for other stuff that you could build. So that's one really great way of discovering blueprints. The other way, if you open your computer with the tab key, see right here under my blueprint menu, I have 7 new blueprints. So whenever you discover a new item in the game, like those fish that I caught, or maybe the cave sulfur that I found, or the seed vine clusters, or the creep vine clusters, sometimes those will unlock new blueprints for you. And if you click here, it'll just highlight the new blueprints with a little exclamation mark. So I recommend checking this screen from time to time just to see what new stuff you can make. And again, the same goes for this voice log. You know, as you get more messages, it continues to save them all in this location for you. Okay, so last thing here before we finish up for today, come back to the Fabricator. Just a couple of recommendations. Recommend you go over to Personal, and if you go over to Equipment, or Tools actually, I recommend, the next couple of things I recommend that you build are the Survival Knife and the Scanner. The Survival Knife's great because it really kind of helps you fight off some of those bad guys out there. You can't really kill them with it, but at least it kind of keeps them at bay. The Scanner tool is pretty invaluable, so you use it all over the place. When you're swimming around and exploring, you'll use it to scan an item, and basically it'll unlock new blueprints or new information about certain items in the game. So it's my recommendation you build those next, and definitely recommend you just explore and have fun. It's an amazing game, and I look forward to seeing you again next time for the next tutorial. Thanks a lot.